Take it easy and solve the school lunch problem with SPAM. S-P-A-M.
こんにちは、タイガークローラジオ。You are listening now. Back J.
You are listening to Tiger Claw Radio. Number 1 in vintage computer and video game entertainment. And now your host, Critical Failure.
Oh yeah. You know, that's the song from the Goonies 2, which I haven't played that in quite a while, but now if I go back to play the Goonies 2, that's going to be, hey, that's the TCR song. Coming up this week on TCR, we've got Counter-Strike Global Offensive has gone free to play. Quite a little bit of talk about that. There's a huge price crash in Magic: The Gathering online cards. Some people are speculating that MTGO will be coming to an end soon to pave way for other card games. We've got people complaining about the YouTube Rewind is a hot one on the internet right now. I gotta be honest, I'm not gonna spend a whole lot of time talking about that, and some other awesome things. As far as music is concerned, the showpiece is still Summer Chip 8. BattleTheBits.org, they had this big compilation. I talk about this every week. We played a couple tracks from it last week. We played some Summer Chip 8 songs, and we also played some Future Funk songs. The first couple tracks we're going to do, the Summer Chip 8 is really front and center. There's some good stuff off of this. It's way more chiptune and way less synth than a lot of the other stuff that we've been playing over the past couple months. So it's you could say it's a return to roots. Lots of good stuff. This is going to be an awesome show. Thanks for tuning in. You're listening to Tiger Claw Radio. This first track is from, come on now, boy. I had it right in front of me. Pet It. And I know there's no way I'm pronouncing that right, but that's what it says. And the name of the song is Tropical Default. You're listening to Tiger Claw Radio. You know, that arpeggio kicks in, and it really sounds like it's going to be related to... It kind of reminds me of the Final Fantasy Overture. Among chiptune guys, I hear the Final Fantasy Overture redone quite a lot. Probably more so back in the 8-Bit Collective days, because there was an ever-flowing chart of the last 100 songs to be produced, and people would do tricks to try and make their songs stick out. And one of the more common tricks was to remake something that people recognized. So Final Fantasy Overture was played quite a lot. Sounds kind of like it, but not exactly the same thing. We are jumping ship now. Let's talk a little bit about Steam. Steam is changing as always. Counter-Strike Global Offensive has just gone free to play for everyone. So let's talk a little bit about Counter-Strike Global Offensive. I pre-ordered this game. This might be the only PC game I've ever pre-ordered in almost a decade on Steam. I pre-ordered this game back in 2012 when it came out. I pre-loaded it. I pre-downloaded it on my computer. Got it all installed, and at that time it didn't run. I couldn't actually get into it until later on, but I've been on this ship since the beginning. When Counter-Strike Global Offensive first came out, I was all in, man. I bought the game, couldn't play it on my computer yet, but then I got it on the PS3. I played it there. I got into it big on the PC in 2014. That's when I really had access to it. Skins were becoming a big deal, or I guess they were already in full swing then. It was a magical summer. I got to play it for a few months. And then later on, probably about 2016, I tried to get back into it after having been gone for so long. I used to play a lot of competitive games. I wasn't worried about ranking up or anything like that, but the competitive scene was so much fun. I would get on, I'd play a competitive game, and I'd make pals with one person on the team, and then me and that one person would queue up for the next game. Then we'd find somebody that we got along with, and then we'd queue up 3 people for the next game. And we kept doing that until by the end of the night, we had one solid full team. And it's something that I never experienced before or since in a video game, was meeting people the way I did in Counter-Strike. It's really a wonderful thing that's unique to that game. At least it was for me. So in 2016, when I tried to go back to it, they introduced something. I don't know when this was, but it was there when I went back. It was like a premium matchmaking. Okay? And the idea was they created a separate pool of players for matchmaking, of established players that were fully established, that would prioritize each other when seeking matchmaking. The idea being it would cut back on Smurfs and cheaters. Cheating has always been around with Counter-Strike. It's always been around. But this new one, smurfing, was a big deal. People who were really good, and they bought a second account so they could go back and play with the new players and really give them a bad time. So this premium thing was supposed to solve that. The problem was, in order to get into premium, you had to have like a bunch of hours in the game, and you had to have not just hours, but you had to like level up in the game, and you had to acquire some sort of currency that was introduced after I stopped playing. So even though I had like 150 hours or however many it was, I wasn't in premium, and that kind of took me out of it. I wanted to get back into the game, but I couldn't. I wasn't being allowed into the established players matchmaking. So when I tried to join games, I would end up with this outer rabble matchmaking where the cheating was more rampant and the Smurfs were more rampant. And it was still fun, but it played much more like open pubbing, you know? Like it, in the old days of Team Fortress 2, when you would just go into a random server and those were the people. And, you know, the people were really good, people were really bad, they were all mixed together. That's what it felt like. So I wasn't able to get back into it. But now it's free to play. So a couple of things have happened. One, if you owned the game before it went free to play, you were automatically entered into the premium matchmaking. So the non-premium matchmaking has just gotten about 1 million billion more cheaters. And everybody who was cheating previously is now able to cheat in the premium matchmaking. So a lot of people are really upset about this move. The only problem I see with it is that apart from Team Fortress 2, every game that I see go free to play, it's usually bad. There's exceptions to the rule. I know Fortnite used to cost money. I know League of Legends used to cost money. But a lot of times we see these games like the Forge. Forge was a free game. Was a game that I paid $5 for. Then it went free. Then it died. H1Z1. I paid $10 for it. Then it went free. And now it's dying. You know what I'm saying? I'm kind of worried about you, CSGO. That's all I'm saying. I want you to be healthy. But that is a thing. But on the other side of that, if you've never played CSGO before, and the $15 entry fee is what has been stopping you, I can tell you, even if you're not allowed into the premium matchmaking, even if you're just with the common free-to-play matchmaking, it's an experience that's been worth it. The people I've met playing CSGO are unlike anything else. Anything else. It's all I can say is playing CSGO and talking to the people in that game is like hanging out outside of a liquor store with children who want somebody to go in and buy them a bottle of liquor. It is a bizarre experience, my friends. All right, so that's CSGO. I also wanted to talk about this Magic the Gathering Online thing. All right, so MTGO is a very old game by now. This thing has been around since like 2008 or 2000. I don't know. It's old. And this has been the way to play Magic the Gathering online. They've got an economy all set up with virtual goods. You can go buy the cards and add them to your virtual collection, and they have value, and people do this. And there's people who there's always people to play. So I spent $10 and I got this Magic the Gathering Online account, and I spent well, I haven't spent any additional money. I probably acquired another like $6 or $7 worth of cards just by spending the event tickets that you get in a free account. I like it because when I shop for Magic the Gathering cards on MTG Goldfish, you can buy net decks. You can buy decks that are defined online for much cheaper online, or if you're going to play on the online version. I think I'm doing a bad job explaining this. All right, let's say you look on this site, MTG Goldfish. I want to get a Magic the Gathering deck. All right, this is one that's pre-built. These guys are saying it's play-tested. All right, it's a nice budget deck. So it says, okay, let's say $22 to get this deck, this hypothetical deck, in paper format, the classic Magic the Gathering format. But hey, if you want to get it online, it's only $5, and you can play the computer game. And then that's the way they sell decks. And that attracted me to it. Okay, so I did this Magic the Gathering Online thing for a while. Well, now there's Magic the Gathering Arena, which is the I don't know much about Magic the Gathering Arena, except that it's newer and shinier, and it's what Wizards of the Coast is pushing. Long story short, there has been a run on the bank. Something happened recently, and everybody is ditching their MTGO cards. MTGO card hoarder recently stopped buying cards because everybody is selling them off. Everyone's trying to cash out. So they're like, we can't take your cards anymore. Now me being a new player who hasn't really put money into it, apart from the $10 it costs to buy an account, I went over to MTG Goldfish, and what I saw was a huge price drop in MTGO cards. If you like Magic the Gathering, if you've ever considered playing Magic the Gathering online, and you have $10 for a new account, it's not a bad time to get an MTGO account, with the understanding that it might fold in the next year or two. A lot of people are projecting it doesn't look good, but with those negative projections, has some good fortunes come my way. So I just wanted to point that to your attention. That, to me, is much bigger news than this YouTube Rewind thing everybody's talking about. YouTube Rewind just came out, and it seems like my favorite part about YouTube Rewind is that when people talk about it on Reddit, the most common thing people say is like, did you really think it was going to be any better than this? Did you really think that YouTube Rewind was going to be something good by now? It had Will Smith in it. This is the fact that Will Smith was in the YouTube Rewind is the kind of thing where it's like people used to mock the Battlefield series and say one day you're going to have a disabled woman as your mascot just for PC's sake, and then lo and behold, Battlefield 5 comes out, and it's like I don't know, guys. This is a little bit too close to how you were being mocked before. That's the way I see YouTube Rewind right now. It's like, Will Smith, really? That's who you think represents YouTube? I don't know. Whatever. The whole thing is a big corporate sales pitch anyway. But that happened. So expect your favorite YouTuber to make some garbage comments about their garbage video. What are you going to do? All right, boys and girls. I think I asked this last week. It's time again. Here's my question. Do you like garbage meme songs? Me neither. Buckle up, son. This is Larrabee on TCR.
Pokemon Go every day.
This next track is from Charlotte off of the Summer Chip 8 compilation. It's called Octorok Eyes. You see what I mean when I say more chippy than what we have been playing? It's so nice. It's such an authentic and different sound that than a lot of the synth pop, synth wave kind of stuff. And I really do enjoy it, going back to the chip tunes that really got me into electronic music, that style. And right now we're just going to take a minute to thank the sponsors. This is the part where I remind you guys that it's a Patreon sponsored show. And these guys are giving to their resources to make sure I can come back every single week. And to them, I can offer early access to the show. And they also get a few supporter-only exclusive kind of things. And also, I can read their names off in a hall of distinguished gentlemen here on the air. And they are Hemrock, James, Sendu, Tecmo Balls, Darabka, and the Cartridge Brothers. Thank you guys so much. So with that, we're going to head over to the van. I only did one Vancast this week, but it was a bit of a long one. But I feel like I went over some good stuff, and I kind of want to listen to it myself. So I'm gonna go ahead and put that on. We're gonna experience the Friday morning Vancast, which I recorded, this morning. Let's give it a listen. Good morning, everybody. It is Friday morning. It's time for the Vancast, and it's, let's see, maybe 20 degrees outside right now. It is freezing cold, brother. I'm barely hanging on. I've made the decision that I badly need driving gloves. I came out and sat in the van this morning. And this happened the last couple mornings where I touch the steering wheel and it's just so cold on my hands that I'm trying to drive with like one thumb on the steering wheel just because it's so cold and I don't want to touch it. But the problem is, as soon as I get to work, that whole issue just goes right out of my head. And I completely forget about it until the following morning when I'm driving to work. So what's going to happen is I'm going to have like 3 or 4 days where I'm touching this ice cold steering wheel and not even thinking about it the rest of the day. It's like I need to write it down or something so that I can remember to get a hold of some driving gloves. Oh my gosh. So this past week has been, these last couple weeks have been really busy. There hasn't been a lot of time for me. There really hasn't. Everything's in a mess when I get home, and work is taking up all my time and my thoughts. And it's tough now to regale you with a story of awesome video game events that have occurred in the last couple days. But I can say, what a time for a video game. This would be the perfect time to just sit down and pull like a 3-4 hour session of some awesome video game that I really love. I did get to play some more Dead by Daylight. I don't know how much we can really talk about that though. I mean, you guys know all about that game. You guys know how much I like that game. I got to play it with Sean for the first time. Darabka, the gaming beast, he got a hold of it, and we played it We had one quick round where he had never played before. It was his first time playing. And I believe he got killed right away. As tends to happen on your first play. And then immediately afterwards, his internet just the bottom fell out. And he had to disconnect. But that one game we got to play. That was fun. Death Adder from Death Adder Super Show bought me a copy of the Halloween DLC for Dead by Daylight. So, I've been playing as The Shape, also known as Mike Myers. Mike Myers from Wayne's World. Whoa! He's the killer I like. Yeah, that's good times. I had been using the guy with the chainsaw, the hillbilly. The problem is when he pulls out the chainsaw, he doesn't run straight. He does this like chainsaw dash, where he'll the idea is he'll move straight forward, and he's running quickly, but it's hard to control. But the thing is, when you're like first level dude and you're just using him for the first time, you pull out that chainsaw and you try and start running, and the guy just makes a hard right into a wall. It becomes the let people get away button. But that's Dead by Daylight. I mean, it's the same old thing, same old game. Not much has changed there. I will say that I like it a lot more than Friday the 13th now. I went back and tried Friday the 13th again a week ago. It's been about a week now. And it did not go well. I like the fact that Dead by Daylight lets you choose. I wanted to be a counselor. I wanted to run away. When you're playing hide and seek as a kid, nobody wants to be the seeker. Everybody wants to be the guys who run and hide. That's where the fun is for me. But Friday the 13th doesn't let you pick. So I went into that game after not having played for like 6 months. And the first round I got picked as Jason. Oh my gosh, it did not go well. It didn't go well. And that game's a little extra brutal because unlike Dead by Daylight on the PC, there's proximity chat. Alright. So the counselors I was chasing down were just like laughing at me. Hitting me with stuff. Ah, it was brutal. Still a good game though. As far as games I played, I mean, truth be told, I played that and I played Dig Dug, and that's really it. Dig Dug, of course, I'm referring to the arcade game series that they released on Steam a while back. They have these 3 or 4 games that are just like the Namco arcade classics. Galaga, Dig Dug, Miss Pac-Man, and the original Pac-Man. And they sell them individually, low price. Regular price $4, which is I guess a lot for a ROM, but for a company sponsored, authentic, legitimately acquired port, not so bad. So they have these 4 games. They went on sale, as games often do, and I picked them up, and they've been good laptop games. They've been good games to play on a budget laptop. I'm just liking playing solid ports of the old arcade games where that one score on the top of the screen where it says high score, where that is actually my high score. Because I would play those games in the arcades and that score was just like whatever was listed as the high score was like don't even worry about it. It's not worth it. I remember playing Galaga in this pizza place back in like 2003, and it's the summer that year, and I've told this story before. The summer that year, I would go to this pizza place, and they had a particular arcade machine called Namco's Class of 1981 or 1982. I can't remember which year it is. And it's a dual cabinet that features Miss Pac-Man and Galaga, and that's it. Probably seen it. Miss Pac-Man, Miss Galaga split cabinet. And I would play Galaga every day on that cabinet.
because it was only a quarter and it was on the way home. So I would stop in, I'd play some Galaga, not a lot, just a couple of rounds. But the thing about Galaga is it's memory based, most of it. You remember the patterns, and you remember how to counter those patterns, and that's how you get good. I mean, for the most part. And I had a friend who was playing it on MAME at the same time, and we would compare scores. I got really good at Galaga that summer. I'm not this good anymore, not by a long shot. But even during that summer, when I was really good, the high score was always some dude who had like $4 and just kept raising his score with additional quarters, which you could do on that machine. So it's nice to, have a version of that game with that score where I'm in control. Now, there was one exception to this rule. I don't know when this was, but it was a long time ago. We're talking pre-2000, so it had to be the late 90s. My friend and I went to a check cashing place. I can't remember what he needed there. He was like picking something up, or I don't know. Maybe he had to get a money order. Maybe that was it. That was something we used to do back in those days. We would get money orders to buy things through the mail. You could buy things through the mail, but a lot of places they said, please don't send cash. So you go to a money order. You go to one of these check cashing places and you buy a money order, and the money order would be just as insecure. I mean, they can be robbed from the mail just as easily as cash can. But a lot of the places wouldn't process cash, so we'd get money orders. Even in early eBay, you could do that. I remember shopping on eBay in the 90s and using money orders. It would take like 3 weeks for the item to show up, but it worked. Oh boy, hang on a second. Hang on. Bear with me here. Driving single lane roads in tight quarters around tight turns in the dark. What was I talking about? Yeah, early eBay. So we went to this check cashing place, and this check cashing place had, it was so long ago, I can't remember if they just had the one game or if it was a couple of games, but I ended up playing Miss PacMan there. I'm inclined to think it was just the one game, because otherwise, to be perfectly honest, I probably wouldn't have been playing Miss PacMan. But this game of Miss PacMan that I played, and I only had one quarter, this game was the perfect game of Miss PacMan. It was the perfect game. It's something I can only describe as a once-in-a-lifetime game. Everything went right. I can't remember what the numbers were, but I got the top spot on a single quarter. And we left that check cashing place, and I'm pretty sure it closed like the following month. Very shortly after that, it closed. So there was no way to go back to that particular machine and relive the magic. At the time, I didn't know anything about dip switches. So looking back, the machine might have been set so that Miss PacMan was going faster than the ghosts. That's something I discovered once I started going to these arcades where you pay an admission fee and then everything's on free play. Disney World had one set up for a long time called Disney Quest. And then MagFest, of course. You go to these classic machines and they mess with the dip switches to make them easier. Like Miss PacMan in particular. Some of them will have Miss PacMan running faster than the ghosts, even when eating the pellets. So it's like, you know what? Why bother? You can't. You can't play a machine that's been tampered with like that and expect to, say, oh, well, this high score I got on Miss PacMan was killer. I'll tell you what was killer, though, was my Galaga scores. Because that Galaga machine was absolutely brutal. I miss those. I miss those days of playing an arcade cabinet and, the score really mattered. It really did. those were fun days. All right, give me a second here. So, in summary, Dig Dug and Dead by Daylight, and that's about it. I remember saying, I think I said this last couple weeks, I wanted to sit back down with Resident Evil 4. I haven't got the chance to do that yet. Partially because when it comes to Resident Evil 4, I want to play it for like an hour. I don't want to sit down with Resident Evil 4 when I got 10 minutes. That doesn't work. That's one of these games where you can't save as much as you want. You can only save when the game tells you it's okay to save. So I have to make sure I have enough time to get to the next spot. You know what I'm saying? And that's a problem for me. But even if I don't push a whole lot further, I got to get to the spot where I can sit down and I got to be able to just sit down and play with the game for a few minutes, because otherwise I'm going to forget what I'm doing, and that's a problem. I just got to the point in the game where when you headshot the dudes, the zombies or whatever they are in that game, then they grow like a tentacle plant where their head used to be, and they become like ultra hard versions of themselves. And you then can only take them down by shooting the tentacle plant. It's this weird part where, like, when you start Resident Evil 4, there's a lot of tension. You know, that opening battle is pretty killer. But then as time goes on, the zombies lose their punch and they become less and less threatening. So they need to crank it up and make it more of a threat. And so the difficulty takes a hard turn. And suddenly the zombies become a big pain in the butt. And what's worse is after this point in the game, sometimes you'll shoot them in the shoulder and their heads will explode. Just, you know, so that there's always a random chance you'll have to fight tentacle head plant version of the monster. Resident Evil 4 is a great game. It's not flawless. It's a great game, though. Has a lot of problems, I would say. The sun's just starting to come up now. I'm starting to see it like daylight peeking up over the trees, which is kind of nice. Kind of nice sight to see just before having to go do a day at the office. I remember when I was 17, I worked for a plumber. And it took me 2 hours in the morning to ride the bus over to the shop. You'd have to go to the shop in the morning, and then the boss would drive from there to wherever it is you're going to work. I didn't have a car, so I had to ride the bus to the shop, and it was every bit of 2 hours in the morning. Not only that, but I had to switch buses a couple of times. So in the cold months, I remember I would just stand there at the bus stop and just absolutely die. Just freezing cold, you know, no money, you know, nothing I could do about it. That was when I was 17. And I remember sitting on the bus at like 5 or 6 in the morning. I can't remember exactly what time it was when this happened. But being out for that long outside in the morning, every morning, I saw a lot of really just awesome sunrises. The whole idea of watching the sunrise and that being an event, I know it's kind of corny and kind of a cliche. But I remember in those particular days, it was pretty dope. It was like, I'm going to hate everything about how I have to work my day. I have a commute that I hate, that's unreasonable. I'm going to go do a job that I hate for a person that I hate that's demeaning and unreasonable. But in the middle of all this, that's a pretty awesome sunrise. And that's kind of what I'm seeing right now. Just looking up over the trees, seeing daylight just kind of peeking up. It's like I can see daylight, but when I'm looking at the road still looks dark. So everyone still has their headlights on. That's kind of where I'm at right now. And it is now 6:37 in the morning. in December. And man, it's cold. Well, oftentimes I ask myself, to wrap these up, what would I play if I were back at the Panzer Studios? What would it be that I would turn on if I could just take a day off? You know, throw my hands up, spend the day in my office at home, surrounded by my video games. What would be the game I would turn on first? I'd want to play something that I could listen to music over. Because, especially since I've been playing Dead by Daylight, not every game can have music played over it, you know? There are some games where it's just, you just need the audio cues. You have to have them. There's no two ways about it. I got these Namco arcade games. They're pretty, you know, they're familiar. They're pretty mindless. I've been playing Dig Dug, but I only sat down with it a couple times. I'm still in this stage where it's like I'm trying to acquire achievements, where it's like make 2 rocks fall on a specific level, which makes an item show up, like a carrot, and then you get the carrot and it unlocks an achievement. I might sit down with Dig Dug. Dig Dug and cassette tapes. That would be my ideal morning. Some hot tea, because it's freezing right now. Get some hot tea, or maybe something warm to eat, like some soup or something. Fire up some cassette tapes. I got one that I'm listening to right now called Sad Speller, which is from a guy on Vancamp. Somebody showed up on Cassette Culture and was like, "Hey, I have a little cassette tape label, a DIY cassette tape label. Come check my stuff out," which is very common over there on Reddit. But the problem is, most people, when they do that, the cassette tapes are like $13 or something. Which, look, if I'm going to pay $13 for an album, it better be a really good album. You know what I'm saying? I'm not above paying it, but it's got to be really good. So this guy's label had a few tapes that were like reasonably priced. So I bought this album from a group called Sad Speller, which I think is just one dude, but I'm not sure. And it showed up in the mail, and man, it's dope. It's great. It's an awesome album. I'm enjoying it. I would put on my Sad Speller tape, and I would play Dig Dug with my $200 arcade stick, which, by the way, almost never gets used now. $200 for this arcade stick, and it gets used. I mean, when I use a stick, that's my go-to stick, but it doesn't get used very often anymore. I probably used it the most playing PacMan 256, which is like a PacMan, how do I put this? PacMan reimagined for a mobile game and then ported back to the PC. PacMan 256. You're in a Pac-Man style maze, but it goes ever upward, and there's like darkness from the bottom that's chasing you. Fun little game. It's up to 4 players, multiplayer. So I played it with both my kids. And then if something kills you, then after a few minutes you show back up on the board and one of the other players can rescue you and bring you back in the game. Because of that, it's a very easy game for my daughter to play, who's 4. So I played a lot of PacMan 256, and when I play that game, I use my $200 arcade stick, and that's what it gets used on more than anything else. I think that's a perfect picture of fatherhood, ladies and gentlemen. Well, how long has this been going on? Goodness, 21 minutes. I haven't done a Vancast that's 21 minutes in a while. And I guess I'm glad I was able to do it this time, because I don't know if I did any other Vancast this week. It's been a lot of cold mornings. It's hard to do a Vancast on a cold morning. And I've been listening to a lot of music instead of doing these. There is a podcast. I don't know if you'd call it a podcast, but there is a thing. We'll call it a podcast. It's a podcast called Future Funk Monthly. And every month they release one song on Bandcamp, and it's more of like a a DJ'd full set of future funk tracks, played continuously. There's no, hey, you're listening to Future Funk Monthly. All right, sponsored by MeUndies. Doodly doo doo. MeUndies, everybody, is sponsoring Future Funk Monthly. Whoa, none of that. Just, you download the song, it plays for an hour, and there you go. And I've been listening to a lot of Future Funk Monthly in the mornings. All right, hang on. And well, boys and girls, I'm pulling into my building now. Oh, man. And depression just washes over me. No. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to smash through it. Like the Kool-Aid Man! All right. I'll see you back in the studio.
I'm back in the studio, and you know what? It's 7:46 p.m. right now. I'm recording this. Today at work was okay. I got out of the car after recording that, and I went into the building ready for anything, and it worked out okay. And sometimes it does, so let's be thankful for that. Now we're 41 minutes and 35 seconds into TCR episode, whatever number this is, my goodness. And it's time for the fail bag. You guys know what it is. It's just me here. It's just a couple of you out there. Let's have a back and forth. Let's take advantage of that. And this has become, since the reboot, since episode 170, some odd, whatever it was, this has been my favorite part of the show, where we have a little bit of a dialogue. And I got 2 comments. This is all I got, but they're really good ones from Mecha Menace and Desm101. And Desm101 writes, same here. I really enjoy the Resident Evil series, but I am completely terrible at playing them, to the point where I need to use a guide to avoid getting stuck with no ammo and no ability to save. Then he leaves a time signature for 1 hour and 7 minutes and 30 seconds in. I have a PS TV. I got it when it first came out for $120. It's great for a mini console that you can take with you. The prices have gone way up because it's amazing to hack it and put a ton of emulators and stuff on there. The only downside is the video output is not super great. $120. I'm surprised that thing didn't take off more. It seems like the definitive micro console, except that it's except now it's too expensive. Now there's no reason to buy a micro console for 150, 160, whatever it is now. Because I'm sure you could get an old Xbox 360 for that or something. I don't know. It seems like a huge opportunity was missed. I'm curious what you mean about the video out not being great. Was there input lag? Was it like a Raspberry Pi? I don't know. I guess the Raspberry Pi really took over that market, didn't it? Now, if anybody who wants a micro console, they're just going to chalk up $30 for a Pi, and then maybe another $10 for a case, and there you go. There's your micro console. It's a shame, but that's how it goes. Desmond, man, it's good to hear from you, brother. I hope you're doing well. Mecha Menace writes, "Oh yeah, sexy time." Looks at the thumbnail. I kid. A woman just ain't a jumble of pixels. Ouch, too sharp. I wouldn't regard myself as Christian anymore, but I think my nationwide chain grocery store having a Christmas tree up a week before Halloween is too much. There's no more Thanksgiving other than a special on turkeys, turduckens, and whatever vegans cook up. I pass so many Wii's. $5 CIB Wii consoles. Maybe I'll regret it in 20 years, but do I really want a stack of these things taking up space? The generation coming up with the Wii also came up with free and 99-cent mobile games. Though a bajillion Wii's sold, I doubt whether they will garner as much love when the Wii babies grow up. Buy a Wii, maybe 2. There will be exclusives locked to that console because of the interface. Nintendo makes solid hardware besides the NES. However, if your Wii dies, you'll have a backup. Oop, hang on 1 second. My phone's shaking. All right. Just going to go talk to my son for a minute, and we're going to be right back to finish this email. Hang on, brother. Oh, my gosh. Back. All right. Let's get back down to business again. we were in the middle of an email from, or a YouTube comment from good old Mecha Menace. I do these with my son. We do this meeting that we have, just me and him, at the end of the night, called the Video Game Club. We have a club meeting, and it lasts about 5 minutes. And the idea of the club meeting is to talk about video games, give him a chance to get all his video game interests and air it. And he and I can spend a couple minutes together, just him and me, and talk about some games. The point being, when we sit down at the dinner table, we can then say, we're not going to talk about video games at the dinner table. And that's okay, because you and I are going to have our video game club meeting. So, just before he was getting ready for bed, he was like, I want my club meeting with Dad. So I had to go do that, and I had to read to my daughter. And half an hour later, I think we're ready to return to Mecha Menace's comment. Let's see, I need to get back in the mindset. What was he talking about? He was talking about the Wiis. Yeah, Wiis being everywhere. Here's the thing, Mecha Menace. So I have a pretty decent Wii. It is, we got it new when my wife used to work at Best Buy. We got it for free. She was involved with some sort of thing where Best Buy used to do things where it's like, okay, whoever gets the most of this or that or the other or incentivized thing, we'll give them a free, I don't know what it was. I think it was like a MacBook at the time. And she was like, I don't want a MacBook. Can I just get a Wii instead? And they were like, yeah, okay. Same or lesser value. That's fine. So we got a free Wii. Now, at that time, they were still offering Wiis that accepted GameCube discs. I'm under the impression that was something that they stopped doing at some point or another. So this Wii, it's in good shape, works with GameCube games. It's good stuff. Now, I'm interested in hacking the Wii. The agreement is that I'm not supposed to do this to the family Wii, the one that we have now. So that's where the used Wiis come into play. At some point, I'm going to pick up one of these Wiis so that I have a beater Wii that I can hack, put the homebrew channel on, and then I can have a Wii up here in my office, you know? I don't know. It's just kind of something I'd like to do at some point. It's just seeing them discarded in the dirt. Because these were beat up, man. These were not in good shape. To take one of these Wiis on would be an undertaking. You'd have to have a pretty stern cleanup job, and I'd have to buy, all new cables, a new motion sensor bar. This thing would have to be restored, and it would take time and money to do so. It's a worthy project, yeah, but not one I was willing to take on at that particular moment. Let's get back to the email. The comment, excuse me. He writes, woohoo, a mention of Super Mario War? That was my jam in the computer lab in college. Bumping shoulders using the same keyboard with a friend while bashing each other in Mario Brothers arcade-inspired fighting game was some of the best multiplayer I experienced. Each new version added so much more. Good times. Then he goes on and say, your cursory search of game prices sucks. Yeah, it does. Jumping Flash 2 are way cheaper than $100 and $50, respectively. Also, if you want to just buy the game legit and don't care about the physical, those games are on PSN. You know what's funny, Mecha Menace, is you're right. It does suck. You have to get a really good idea. You got to stalk the prices and figure out what they're really worth. What I did, just looking at the first page of what just happens to be for sale on eBay, this is what people do a lot, whenever you see someone pull out their phone and they're like, I want to see how much this is worth. I'm just going to check how much it's worth on eBay. That's the hole I fell into. Glad to know that I can get it for cheaper if I keep my eyes peeled, though. What was the other thing you talked about? Super Mario War. Super Mario War was a game you had fond memories of. I want to look this up now, because now I'm really curious. Super Mario War. Let's take a look. All right. Super Mario War website. There's the website. There's a Let's Play. Pixelprospector.com, the indie gold mine, has a bit of a Let's Play. All right. Game starts at 55 seconds. Okay. So we're looking at a 4-player mix, kind of set up like Smash Brothers Brawl, but using Super Mario Brothers mechanics. This looks dope, dude. This looks really good. All right, so now we know it's something worth getting. I'm gonna head over to the Super Mario War website, supermariowar.supersanctuary.net. It looks like it's still here. I'm looking to see if there's a last updated date. I don't see one. Features up to 4-player deathmatch fun. Comes with a whole bunch of game modes featuring Get the Chicken, Domination, Capture the Flag. Comes with a level editor. You can create your own maps, and a lot of people did so. There are currently over 1,000 maps. More fun than poking a monkey with a stick, and the whole source code of the game is available for free. Uses the SDL and is fully portable to Windows, Linux, Mac, CPU players. Makes you happy, gives you a fuzzy feeling. Why have I never heard of this? My goodness. The only date I see on this website... Okay, copyright 2005 to 2010. Man. Download the game. 404 error. What? Alright, let's go back one. Let's go back one, mate. Download the beta version for 1.8. 404 error. Man. Looks like you found a dead link. The old website's there, but the game is not. Super Mario War. I'm going to find this, guys. I am going to find this game. I'm determined. And you know what? We're 51 minutes and 55 seconds in. I'm going to pause the recording right now. Let's just see if I can find it, okay? I really didn't need to pause the recording. I found it in like 2 seconds. It's extracting now. The official website doesn't have it, but I found a link on SourceForge. Somebody had a SourceForge link. So yeah, I'm gonna check this thing out. We're gonna talk about this a little bit next week. I do kind of want to make sure it works now before I let it lay. Super Mario War version 1.8 beta 2. Okay. Lots of files. The executable is not in the root directory. So filters, graphics, maps, music. Maybe I do need to do this on my own. Super Mario War.app. I don't know, guys. I don't know. I'm going to figure it out and report back to you because this looks really neat and worthwhile. Alright, so whatever's brought you here 53 minutes in, we're pulling the plug a little bit earlier than I normally do. But thank you guys for spending your time here. I really appreciate it. And we had some fun. We sure did, didn't we? And I think this might be the first episode in a while where I'm kind of sorry it's over. But time really is the greatest currency, isn't it? And what you've spent here, I really appreciate. And whatever you do this week, whatever it is that you've got to accomplish, I want you to know that I'm rooting for you. Whatever fire it is you have to run into, run in with both feet. Don't stop, don't slow down. And when you come out on the other end, I'll see you there. Take care of yourselves.